Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the Primal Chronicles. If you stuck with us this far, we're very grateful, and we hope that you will enjoy this next episode of pretty much the inside of Rhett Wacaser's brain. Now, what we talked about last week was a pretty much number of different things. We kind of went all over the place, to be honest. We went from defense to offense to quarterbacks, which our quarterbacks are on offense, which is pretty funny. And then we also kind of dwelled in all sorts of things. Like I remember there was a lot of edits, and it was cool, and I loved it. Felt like an iPad kid. But now we're trying to take a more progressive look on things and get more legit. So thank you guys again. And with that being said, let's get to it. With the season being starting pretty much on August 31st, I believe, this month, yes. We're going to be talking about the beginning, right? In the Bible it says, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Talking about Jesus. That's going to be our verse of the episode for all those wondering, because the beginning is very important. How you start in life is very much important to where you end up. I'd even argue that your beginning, meaning your first 4 years as an adult, is probably the most important of them all. I'd say who you were in high school pretty much does not dictate anything. And if you think otherwise, that's cool, But that's my analysis, I think. Anyways, hopefully I'll be able to spit some of my knowledge relating all of that to the game of football now. With our rankings coming into the season, Texas is ranked number 1 at most likely team. I think it was a 34% chance of winning the national championship. Now, do I think they are that highly favored? No, I do not. I think Texas will win the Natty if I had a gun to my head, only because their schedule is hard, but not that hard. So they don't have to worry about getting their butts kicked every single week. I really like they really only have 2 major games, their first game being Ohio State, which I believe they'll be able to win because the focus of this episode, that's what we'll encompass with it, is going to be the subject of revenge. Now, some say revenge is a fool's game, and most of the time it is. It's pretty much impossible to get unless you're like a MMA boxer or something. It's pretty much out of our reach for the most part, unless I guess you think of war or something like that. But most of us don't really get to even have the ability to get revenge in life. But thankfully, the game of football gives us multiple opportunities to have revenge on players and teams and coaches and all sorts of things. Now, with college football, it's pretty hard to get revenge in one season. Most teams don't get the blessing of playing each other twice. So I feel like the teams that do usually play each other twice, as I stated before in our last episode, I feel like usually it's hard to beat a good team twice. Something my old man used to always tell me. And I definitely stick by it. It is very much occurrent in the game of college football as we know it. With that being said, I say that by them having to play Texas again after coming off of a national championship, I do see them trying to be hungry to show that they're still a worthy team, but I do think Texas has something to prove, and I think Texas themselves thinks of them as the underdog in this game scenario. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying this is a game scenario now. Texas comes out, and they feel like they're the underdog, and Ohio State comes out, and they just feel like they have nothing to gain, necessarily, because they don't. I mean, if they win this game, it doesn't really mean anything. They can lose this game and still very well go to the national championship. That's about all there is for them to gain. Whereas Texas has pretty much revenge in their hindsight. And as we said, this episode is all about revenge and how important it is for this game of college football. Now, revenge is equally important in many sports. Rory McIlroy clearly got revenge on Mr. Bryson DeChambeau after he lost the U.S. Open of 2024, I believe, by winning the Masters of 2025 this year. It happens. Revenge is a great game in sports. However, with football being a collision sport and not just a contact sport, I do believe that it is very essential to the drive of the players and the coaches, and it is something that a coach that's not even that good can use. Some coaches just are not good leaders in general, and if you just have the element of revenge, you don't have to have some amazing pep talk. You just have to say, don't y'all hate how y'all lost to this team last year? And that usually gets the team fired up. I could see it happening. Now, Texas versus Florida, I will say, could go either way. With quarterback Florida, whatever, DJ Lagaway, or whatever his name was, unpredictable character there. He's just a loose cannon. I have absolutely no idea yet how that's going to fare. Thankfully, we're only covering the first few games of the season. I know that game is the 4th, I believe, for them. So we'll get into that, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Moving on from the defending national champions, talking about the new hot teams, we're going to go into Clemson, of course. Who doesn't like the good old Clemson Tigers, and Dabo Swinney, who refuses the amazing transfer portal and NIL deals. The old fossil, really. But we love Dabo. Dabo's great. Dabo recently talked on an interview, I believe it was today or yesterday, and saying that Clemson was the first ever team to go 15-0, 2018, I believe, with Trevor. And he's saying that this year we're going 16-0. High expectations for the Tigers. The Tigers will be starting out against another team who are Tigers. The LSU-Clemson game, probably the hottest game of the first week, other than, of course, the teams we just said before. With that being said, game could go either way, indubitably. But if you want the Primals analysis of it, I say Clemson has not had a home game in 10 years for the first game of the season. Unfortunately, we've had, I believe they said, half being mostly away games and the others being sites in between. So the drive alone will be special this time. They have something to prove. I believe that the Tigers, Clemson, will still come out guns blazing, and they will hit the ground running. I do. Not actually running, by the way. I don't think we're going to rely on our run game. I think Clemson's going to start out with some chicanery, little random passes. Dabo, he's pretty unpredictable. But I do definitely say by the third and fourth quarter, we'll be heavy into the passing unit. I believe it'll be something similar to what we saw against SMU. SMU had a quarterback that didn't mind running at all. SMU's quarterback was very good. He played very well that game, even though Tigers obviously won at the end. SMU has a very similar just energy, constantly had them on their heels. LSU's quarterback's going to be the same way this season, they're saying. They're saying they want Nussmeier to hit the ground running a little bit more. He wants to be, obviously he's got an arm. Accurate, they're saying, all this. The prophecy for this game, there's always a prophecy. The prophecy is that the quarterback that was the last senior at LSU, Jaden Daniels, and we all remember him. Jaden Daniels was phenomenal. Won the Heisman, did great things in the NFL. Jaden Daniels did not actually have a phenomenal junior season, which is interesting because his senior season was legit, probably one of the best quarterback seasons in the history of football. I mean, it was insane. He was restricted by his defense alone. His defense is the only reason why he didn't get further, and quite frankly, that's still LSU's problem now, if you ask me. I believe LSU's biggest problem is their defense. Last season, when they won games, it would usually be about 35 to 28 every time. Those high-scoring games. Their defense was very much not present there, and that is a fact. There's no bias to that. LSU, also, I do think they have a better running back than Clemson. Pros of LSU, though. Clemson is going to rely on their freshman running back, which he could be great. He could not be. He seems like he's ready for the big screen. Come on and hit and just take it all off. But that's a lot to ask for a freshman running back, if you ask me. I say use Adam Randall as much as you can. Spare the boy for LSU in the first game. Let him develop with the Wake Forest games and all that. I do see, though, Dabo heavily winning the game by his defense. It all comes down to how his defense is going to play. because with the new defense, Tom Allen, I believe, from Penn State, how he's going to handle their run defense was going to be crucial. Last year, Clemson had probably one of the worst run defenses in the country. And so if they can't stop LSU's run, might as well hang it up. It's going to happen. So my bet is going to be Clemson Tigers. I do think one of the Tigers will win. But I think Clemson, just because of weapons, I think they have more weapons on offense and defense overall. That's what my take for that game. Could not tell you the score, though. I could easily see it being a high-scoring game, or I could see both teams kind of struggling at first and ended up being about 21-14 type of deal. So tune into that. We might have a different analysis on that next week. Moving on from teams into the role, as we said, the subject of today is revenge. So, what does revenge mean? Revenge means, as we said, revenge is punishment for wrongdoing or morally wrong actions. Pretty straightforward. Not very much thinking room there. But that's what football is. There's really not a lot of thinking room in football. What you see is what you get. If you see a team, they play a team, and there wasn't any call that changed the game, and that team lost to that team, you can't say, oh, well, if we had this player and he wasn't hurt, we would have won. It doesn't matter. Revenge is facts. If you can't beat the team, then you can't beat the team. And that's it. End discussion. And you move on to next week. And if there is no next week, then you move on to next season. That's the way we do it in the Low Country. With that being said, we will now be transitioning from opening games of the season to coaches. Today's coach that we'll study will be the one and only Kirby Smart. Let me just briefly explain the origin of Kirby Smart. Plotline. Because at the time, we read articles about this, and we said, who is this guy? We don't know. Where is he coming up with these ideas? And it goes all the way back. It's a children's level story. Children's level ideas here. Kirby Smart was a little known coach, graduated from Georgia, played football for him, made it to the NFL briefly, spent about 3 years there as a safety. He goes in to all these random schools, little by little, starts coaching them, trying to learn from his dad. His father had been a high school coach for 36 years. Lived and breathed football. And then Kirby Smart sneaks into the shadows and manages to get a position on Nick Saban's 2015 Alabama Crimson Tide team. He makes it up into his way of defensive coordinator, and they win an SEC championship and they win a national championship that year. All under none other than the GOAT. If you ask me, the story sounds very similar to Darth Sidious. That's what I'm talking about. Darth Sidious arose from the shadows. He was the first Sith to address himself to the Jedi. Well, technically, we'll not get into that. He trained the first Sith to address himself in front of the Jedi after a literal millennium. It had been 1,000 years of the Sith being extinct. And then Darth Sidious learns from none other than the GOAT, Darth Plagueis the Wise. We all know that story. And Darth Sidious got so into power and the lust and the evil and the pride and the power. He was, now, Lord Vader. Kill Vice Roy Gunray and all the other separatist leaders. Bah! We all know how that happens. But he takes the best player, meaning the Anakin Skywalker. Now, when we all see Anakin freak out on the council, it's not just because he's a little wimp and a brat. He's a brat. It's because, if you watch the Clone Wars, Anakin is that guy. Anakin is the one that has saved Mace Windu, Yoda, Obi-Wan's butt thousands and numerous times. He is clearly qualified to be on the council. That's why he outrages. That's why everyone forgets it. Okay, everyone's like, oh, yes, it's a meme. Like, what? It's outrageous. It's not fair. It's the meme it is now. We don't think about it. But that's why he was acting that way. College football, you may ask. I'll tell you. All the Jedi here are telling Anakin he's a nobody. And Anakin has no father figure, mind you. Never has. Except somebody told him when he was but a wee boy, we saw watch your career with great interest. None other than the Palpatine. Had eyes on the prize since day one. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And for the past 13 years, that little homie had been planning to take over Anakin's soul and use his power for evil. And then he did. He did exactly like he used the Jedi, and he used the Jedi dismissing him to then fuel him into becoming the evil Darth Vader that we all know and love today. What does that have to do with Kirby Smart? Kirby Smart not only hid in the shadows for a little bit, he hid in the shadows for the equivalence of a college football decade. Literally. He rises, slips in behind the curtains onto the Alabama coaching staff as an assistant coach. He then in 2008 gets into the defensive coordinator position. And Alabama had immense success from 2008 to 2011, having back-to-back national championships in 2010 and 11. And all these coaching jobs are thrown at Kirby Smart, left and right. Kirby, come here. Kirby, come here. Kirby, Kirby, Kirby. They all wanted Kirby Smart because Kirby was learning under no one than the GOAT of college football, the Nick Saban, the equivalent of Earth Plagueis the Wise. Oh, yeah. No one's wiser, and no one has more tools in their tool shed than Nick Saban did, especially at this time. This is prime time Nick Saban we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. This is the guy. And what does Kirby Smart do? He doesn't abandon ship immediately. He becomes patient, as Darth Sidious had to be, hiding under the shadows of dark side clouds everything of the Force. We don't know. In the beginning of Attack of the Clones, too, when Yoda's like, the dark side clouds everything. Impossible to see. The future is. It shows you the power of the dark side. They don't know the future. That's what was happening. Nick Saban didn't know he was creating an absolute beast in his presence. Because finally, after years and years of waiting, Kirby Smart gets offered, after winning his third national title with the Crimson Tide, he gets offered Georgia Bulldogs. So he takes the job as the head coach. And the next year, he cuts Georgia into the mid program that it was, into a program, well, let's not say mid. I don't want to do Georgia like that in the mid 2000s. He takes Georgia and he plunges them, and they do well. They have a good season. Next season, however, they play Bama and lost. We all know what happened. It was tragic. But they became a team that was elite only in 2 seasons. Only 2. It's incredible. It is. Thrown at you. Kirby keeps the big picture in mind. He studies the game. He watches Alabama. He takes the job. Fast forward in 3 years. Alabama is still elite. They make it to the national championship. They play none other than Georgia. Some have forgotten this game, but I, for one, have not. It was an amazing game. 2 SEC teams going back at it. And Georgia had them by the tail. Pretty sure the score was about 24-10 at halftime, and Georgia was dominating. The score should have been way more than 24-10. Looked like Alabama had no hopes. But then, a player named Tua Tagovailoa came in and changed the momentum. Now, we're not going to get into that. But the point is that Kirby had gotten himself to the point of chancellor. He gets himself and his empire, catapults himself into a coach that people will be scared of now. He is now a threat. Next season, we see Chancellor Palpatine launch terror attacks. We see Kirby Smart launch even more dogs. They're sick of him. Now, they stay mediocre for a couple of seasons, and then the great COVID happens. and everyone's afraid. Everyone's afraid. No one likes COVID. COVID. Kirby Smart, not affected. He keeps on doing what he does. He keeps on recruiting. He takes advantage of the tools that he's given, and he builds the Georgia Empire. He beats Alabama, his number one enemy that he betrayed, which is what Soviet Russia does, Nazi Germany, Communist China. That's what they all do. They backstab those that support them and the shadows. What we see in history. Now, after that season, when they have their first national championship in the past 40 years, Kirby Smart says, it's not enough. No, you will die. And then he catapults himself into another national championship against none other than some TCU Horny Toads. And this guy had absolutely no filter. He kept his starters in the entire game. It was relentless. He said, let them boys die. And he absolutely destroyed their guts. It was 63-7. The most ruthless score in a national championship we've ever seen. And then not only did he win that natty back-to-back, he shot himself into the Georgia Empire that is now known today. And many would associate it with the Galactic Empire in Star Wars. And that's why Kirby Smart is the equivalent of Chancellor Palpatine. With that being said, we're going to have to transition from football and talk about our special topic of the day, the Middle East. We are now going to gather our special guest, who will not be sharing his given name due to privacy. We will be addressing him as the Ancient One, because multiple people have told him he is a grandpa in a teenager's body. And that is a compliment, not a, rude thing to say. It's very wise, very mature for his, his ways. The Ancient One, would you mind joining us today, sir? Welcome back, everybody. For those tuning in, we have just introduced our new guest, the Ancient One. He has been a long-time World War II artifact collector. Ancient One, thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure's all mine.
Yes, I really have gotten to love these conversations more and more, and I've been struggling trying to find somebody to talk to about wars and history, because I feel like as you mature and get older as a man, I feel like you just naturally get into World War II more, just kind of happens. You get a little more of what the more boring, you care about more, and things that really matter, though. I mean, I really enjoy that kind of stuff. So thank you again for coming on here and offering something new and not just sports. We do appreciate it.
Well, happy to be here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you all for your patience with us. After that break, we're going to keep on going forward with our guest. The Ancient One, thank you again for taking time out of your glorious weekday evening and sharing your personal life, origin story, if you don't mind, briefly. You don't have to get into it. Whatever you feel like talking about. But I can say that I personally am very, very happy because I've been searching for someone to pretty much, grow my knowledge of World War II and World War I and the Vietnam War even, and Korea. I feel like Korea gets overlooked. I don't think anyone really cares about the Korean War, to be honest. But I think that pretty much any time that America was involved in war, something I should probably know. As a civilian, I owe it to those that died for me, and I will probably, hopefully, never be in the, deployment. But I do respect those that served for me, and I can affirm that is what I stand for. The Ancient One, again, a long-time collector of artifacts, weaponry, and uniform and memorabilia. Served on the, I believe you said, the vice president board of the middle school World War II club. Is that correct?
I did in fact do that, and now I currently work in the business of dealing in World War II memorabilia. Work here at a local shop in Charleston, so eat it, breathe it, love it, study it. It's fun to me.
Now, you say study it. do you study not just the history, but you study, this is also a business, correct? Like this is a legit market. Right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, Gen Z is kind of the saving grace, at least in my opinion, of studying history. You have a lot more younger guys coming out, and they want to buy a piece of history. They want to have it in their home because nobody likes going to the museum and having to see it behind glass. I want to put my hands on it. I want to see it up close. I want to feel it. So yeah, it's very important. It's a very big business now.
And what age would you say you started learning that you had such a love for history and memorabilia artifacts?
As young as I can remember. I remember always wanting to go to the surplus store, get something, go out and play in the yard with it. Obviously now we keep it on shelves, but...
That's interesting. Now, did your parents, when you always were into it, did your parents have an influence on you at all, or would you say it was mostly just supernatural ambition?
I don't think they pushed me into it, but they definitely supported it. They definitely looked at it as a cool thing rather than a bad thing. They definitely assisted me in doing it. They didn't force it on me, like I said. They didn't get me into it, but they assisted along the way.
And now, throughout your life, starting, I believe you said, even as far as fourth grade, you were experiencing, like, not exactly bullying, you would say, but you said tribulations for trying to share the knowledge that you knew, and people apparently, I believe you said there was some incident with a teacher, correct, or something?
Yeah, so, there's just some things that are agreed upon from textbooks and whatnot that maybe aren't completely true or not completely agreed upon by other people who look at history. And teachers often get in this authority complex where they know everything they say is fine, and that's not always the case. So, yes, we did have a disagreement. I don't remember exactly what it was over, but we did.
Now, fast forwarding from your elementary school years into middle school, our intel says that you were a bit of a stallion in your middle school era, would you say?
I guess you could say I peaked at about 7th grade. Came out with a couple rap songs.
Really?
Indeed.
Wow, that's a fun age, 7th grade. I don't remember much. I do remember it was fun. I will say that much. And what kind of rap songs you mean?
It was a diss track about a certain teacher.
A teacher you had?
A teacher I did have.
Wow.
Oddly enough, she was the history teacher, Miss Renshaw.
Really?
Indeed.
Still remember her name?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
And was this rap a positive rap, or was it how would you say?
It was kind of just poking a little bit of fun at her.
Oh, really?
We'll put it that way.
Yeah. I hear you. Now you said at a time this video on YouTube had 10, or was it hundreds of?
Well, at its max, it got about 5,000 views, and to be honest, that was probably just people that I knew watching it over and over again. But it reached about there.
Wow. And what happened to the video? Is it findable today?
It is a rare piece of lost media. It's nowhere to be found.
It's gone.
Completely gone.
Now, do you believe that the globalists and the elites had anything to do with this, or do you think this was more of a person?
Oh, I know it was a globalist that we knew.
Really?
100%, yeah.
Do you think they've been watching you since you were a kid, knowing that you've been into history, and they knowing that they want us to pretty much not question anything and use history as our tool? You think that you've been on their number one target list since you were a wee lad?
It's a possibility. It's a very big possibility.
For all those that are tuning in and are not aware that we can sometimes get into conspiracies on this show, the global elite are a group of people that pretty much no one knows anything about. The global elite, some say, have been here for 1,000 years. Most spectate that they've been here for the past 100 years. Many believe that the Freemasons have something to do with them. Most believe that the Freemasons are a part of the global elites, just because we don't know much about the Freemasons being that. A lot of the global elites, they say, some are in America and many are scattered across the world, and they believe in a one world government. Now, what the globalists don't like is they don't like people questioning things. And the term conspiracy theorist, quick trivia fact here, was invented in 1967 particularly, for those that were questioning the JFK files and the reasoning for the assassination. The government created the term conspiracy theorist, and you can look at the date. The word conspiracy really had not been in use much in the 1900s until I believe it was 67. It skyrocketed, and the government used it as a term to create this sort of what's the word I'm looking for? It's like dismissive. Yes, to dismiss any sort of rebellion or questioning that the civilian would have against the government. Because then once we question the government can, now correct me if I'm wrong here, to say, well, you're a conspiracy theorist and you're crazy. What do you say about that, the Ancient One?
It seems plausible. It seems foolish to deny that that's a possibility. I mean, anything's a possibility. So,
do you think there are things that the government knows that they don't tell the American people?
1,000%. There's some stuff out there.
There is?
Probably. More than likely.
Now, there's a lot of topics we could talk about with the Ancient One. Now, many would think that wisdom and knowledge comes with age, but in my experience, it comes with hard times, sacrifice, and hard work. I believe that 1 Timothy 4:12 says, "Do not let anyone look down on you because you are young, but instead I believe it is service to other believers." And it's about saying that your age doesn't define you as a Christian, but we can also use that in real life today. I believe that just because you're young does not mean you don't have power and influence on those that might even be older than you and have seen more stuff than you. I believe young people's minds are just as important in opinions as old people. Would you say?
Probably. Though I believe some young people's minds can be poisoned.
Yes.
Yes. Easier than a lot of other people's. But, yeah.
Yes. Now, do you believe in the 12 dimensions, the Ancient One?
I am unfamiliar with the topic.
So, some say that there's 12 dimensions, and we're currently in the third. Third being third dimensional, how we see things in 3D. And some people believe that some people are conscious, meaning some people question life, and then there are those that don't question things, and they literally just live the American dream and die. Would you say that's a possibility or no?
Anything's a possibility. I'm not educated enough on it to make a distinction.
Primal Rhett here, apologizing again, y'all, for putting the Ancient One on the spot here. Let's get back to something he really cares about. Now, Ancient One, going to the Middle East, what would you say is currently going on in the Middle East?
Well, I have an opinion many of you are not going to like on the current state of the Middle East. Number one, Israel's doing nothing wrong. They're fighting a war, right? There's aid that Israel will let in, and the UN is letting it rot. Everyone wants to scream, look at the war crimes Israel's committing, look at the children that are dying, and you're right, children do die. It's very unfortunate. It's not a good thing. But, unfortunately, in times of war, sometimes that happens. It's called collateral damage. And in the 1940s, the United States and the Allied forces had to do it to Germany. We had to bomb places like, Berlin, Hamburg, Dresden is a big one people like to point out. It's very unfortunate, but it happens, unfortunately. And if Hamas and the other terrorists would get out of these places where civilians are, hopefully that would stop. But until then, I don't think it's going to stop. And I do think Israel is the more morally superior country. I don't think they're doing anything wrong.
Now, one thing I heard you say a couple of weeks ago was you're focusing on how unique it is, or how fascinating it is that we basically tended to Israel as, many compared it to good and some compared it to evil. But what we did with Ukraine is I feel like most Americans were in full support of Ukraine in 2022. I myself was one of them, thinking Ukraine was this amazing country that was just like America, but basically in Europe. And I've learned from sources as of the Ancient One and other references on the internet that, in fact, I was majorly misjudgmented on Ukraine. And in fact, they, as the Ancient One said, how would you say it? They.
Well, in my opinion, Ukraine and Russia are both equally bad. There's not one superior to the other. And the reason I say this is because, people will point at Russia and say, look, that guy over there they don't have freedom of speech. Well, Ukraine shut down all the churches. That's a little weird, isn't it? Ukraine suppresses free speech. Ukraine has elections that are tampered with by us, by U.S. aid. We pay people to go over and protest in Russia. Not saying that's enough to sway an election, but we do. It just seems to me that Ukraine and Russia are both bad countries. So whether Ukraine keeps their land or Russia doesn't, or Russia gets it, it really doesn't matter to me. I don't see Russia as a threat. I don't think they're going to be a threat. I think we could potentially work with them as they suggested in the 2000s. But I think America is a little too scared of Russia to actually make a deal and create peace in the world.
Now, when you say Russia doesn't seem like a threat, can you interpret that a little bit more?
I think Russia would be willing to negotiate and willing to be more integrated into the West if we let them. For years, they tried to join NATO. We blew them off. After 9/11, Putin told us we would have support. They opened up airspaces in Afghanistan. I just think there could be more cooperation between the two nations, and I think that would be good for the world, good for Russia, Ukraine, good for the innocent people on both sides that are dying. I think that would be good for them.
Now, you don't see Russia if Russia were to join NATO, as you're saying, or make peace with America more, and say they somehow backstab us, or either attack us, or blow out our oil system, or do some type of betrayal. Now, do you see all the nations of NATO going to war with Russia or something like that, or what would you say?
I think if they did something like that was deliberate, the United States would immediately respond. And I think NATO countries would join us with that. Because ultimately, no matter if Russia joins NATO or not, NATO is still kind of an anti-Russia club, and they're all going to have that sentiment even if Russia joins. So I don't think, that would apply to Russia. The one all go, you know what I mean? I don't think that would apply to them.
So is there any type of threat that does America have any type of how should I say? Does America have a right to neglect Russia and not be willing to make peace with them? Or is there any type of valid point in doing that, or do we basically have nothing to lose by?
I don't see much to lose. I really don't. And I could be totally wrong. I'm willing for people to point that out. You got to be willing for people to point out when you're wrong. It's just, in my opinion, from the evidence I've been presented so far, I think Russia would come to the table if we were willing to, and were willing to integrate with them more.
Fascinating. Now, going back to the Middle East, if you don't mind, where do you think? I've heard many people speculate that when we handled Afghanistan, this is no politics included here. I'm just talking about the facts. I've heard even my own history teacher in high school said when we pulled out of Afghanistan, some have considered or compared it to how we handled Vietnam. I don't know how factual that is, and I don't know if you've heard anything about that. Would you care to get upon that?
Yeah, it's very similar. We left in a rush as the Taliban was trying to come in, and we left all of our equipment over there. Got to be at least millions in dollars of equipment we left over there, and Vietnam was probably maybe a bigger scale, but you can watch videos of them in Vietnam. tossing Huey helicopters off of aircraft carriers because supposedly it's cheaper to just make a new one than to bring it back. In Vietnam or in Afghanistan, you can see the same thing. There's Marines going through with what looked to be maybe crowbars, destroying the MRAP vehicles on the insides, breaking them. So it's very comparable.
Really?
I think so.
Now, as far as how we handled the end of the war, I should say, and how did we pull out of Vietnam as similar as we did to Afghanistan in that short amount of time, all of a sudden? Or?
Roughly, I think we definitely needed to pull out of both, but pullouts weren't necessarily under the same conditions. And I think Afghanistan we should have planned a little bit better.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think so too. I think just going off of the videos I've seen, I do believe that we should have reinforced the people and somehow left our equipment first, maybe, and perhaps somehow, I don't know if I want to say left the troops there longer, but somehow found some type of way that the people can feel safe and not all the residents that were there wanted to jump on the planes and come home with us. I think we should have had some type of different way that we handled that. I'd agree. On that, yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on to more of the Middle East. Would you say the Middle East, how long has this been going on for, you'd say?
Since the dawn of time.
Dawn of time.
They've been fighting since the dawn of time. There's been no stop to it.
No stop to it.
No.
True. Now, going off of World War II, would you say in many ways World War II, despite all the horrors of it, did it give some type of power to Israel, making them a country, or were they already that level?
So Israel was created in 1948, and this was in part because of the Holocaust, because they wanted to have a country where Jews could flee to no matter what.
Right. That's all I know.
And that's why Jewish immigration to Israel today is basically free. If you were somebody of Jewish descent and you can prove that, they will just let you in. And it's a very good thing. I think it's a good thing.
They've never had any. They've never had any problems with that.
No.
People. Really?
No.
Wow. Go ahead.
But it depends on what you mean by giving them power. Because how can you give them power? Or how could they have had power if it wasn't a country? Again, until 48. You know what I mean?
Right. Sorry. So as far as ever since they have become a country, when would you say after they became a country, they became the power they are now? Because I'd say they're probably one of the top. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, because their assistance to us when we bombed Iran, they took out Iran's missiles. Am I correct?
Yeah, they did do some assistance with that, but it was, at least in my opinion, it was assistance, but I think we did more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, would you say that all the countries in the world, they're a top 10 as far as superpower, as far as weapon? No. Israel?
I think they create a lot of stuff, but I still think their logistics are not on par to make them a top 10 country. They have a really good military, but it is quite small. Considering.
How small, if you don't mind me asking? We have about 900,000. Is that right?
If I could be completely wrong, fact check me on this, but I think the last time I looked it up, it was like 200,000 soldiers.
America.
No,
Israel.
Israel, yeah.
And America has roughly almost 1 million, like 900.
Yeah. But it's not even just troop size. It's more of logistics, giving things out. It's like you study weaponry, and that'll tell you. They wanted their own domestically produced rifles, so they created the IWI Tavor, Tatar 21. That got deployed, and they were like, oh wow, we don't have enough parts for these to go around. We have all these M16s laying around. Let's just go back to a system that can use M16 parts. So they started making their own M16 style rifles.
Fascinating. So they went back to the old time.
Sort
the original.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, have we always been good friends of Israel that we are today? Because I believe that I'm talking about as a country and as a allegiance, not so much as citizens.
Most of the time, yeah.
Really?
A lot of people like to point at the USS Liberty incident and like to use that as evidence for they don't like us. And what happened was there was a ship that was either marked or unmarked. The details are kind of misfaded. Some people say the ship was marked with a U.S. flag. Some say it wasn't. Don't know. But Israeli planes attacked this boat.
That was American.
Israeli planes attacked this American boat. This Israelis thought it was an Egyptian tanker during the 6 Day War.
Tanker. What is a tanker?
It's a ship, like a supply ship.
Hmm.
So Israeli jets attacked it, came around, did another attack. Torpedo boat went out there, and I believe the torpedo boat saw that it was American, picked up some of the survivors, and a lot of men on that ship died. And a lot of people use that and say, well, look, that was Israel just trying to get America to join the war because, they were fighting Egypt, and they were going to claim it was Egyptian plane, a false flag, right? I just don't buy that. Because during the time, Israeli jets, such as the ones used to bomb that vessel, were clearly marked with a roundel Star of David. That would indicate to me, if they were going to circle around and do another attack, they already knew they didn't get everybody. So, if your guys didn't see it the first time, they're going to see it the second time, and they're going to report to somebody.
Right.
And they also paid damages. They paid for the ship, and they paid, I think it was $3 million to each of the families of the victims. So I don't think that there's not enough evidence to convince me that was a false flag attack where they wanted us to join their war against Egypt. It just doesn't make much sense to me.
And when was this?
1967, during the 6 Day War.
Now they were in war with Egypt?
Egypt and a couple other Arab countries.
Really?
Yeah.
Arab as in like northern Africa as well?
Well, Egypt and the surrounding countries like Syria, Lebanon, those types of places.
Algeria, Libya?
No. Just Egypt from North Africa.
Yeah. Okay. Fascinating. Wow. With the Ancient One knowing so much about history, I gotta ask if he doesn't mind briefly sharing about one of my favorite new conspiracy theories / history that I've recently learned is Operation Northwoods. For those that don't know, Operation Northwoods was a plan to essentially hurt U.S. civilians, but it was a plan devised by the U.S. government. Now, this is not like a 9/11 conspiracy where some say it was an inside job or something. This was an actual, you would say, legalized...
Proposed idea.
A proposed idea by the United States government, and this was 1962, I believe?
Around there.
And for those that don't know what was happening at that time, we were currently in a war with... Well, we were in the Cold War, so we weren't actually in an actual war, per se. Not one person died in it, correct?
Well, the Cold War was just a term for the aggression from the United States and the Soviet Union, but there were multiple not micro wars, but sub-wars in that category, like Vietnam and things like that.
Oh, yeah. I guess if you include those, yeah, my fault. So, we didn't like Cuba, right? Because we were believed that they were supporting Russia?
They were.
Yeah.
And they were communists. So, what we decided to do was we said, what if we make it look like Cubans potentially harm Americans, whether that be bombing or killing or whatever. And that way that would give us a just cause to invade Cuba.
Because it's so close to us and we're more worried about that than Russia?
Indeed. Yeah.
Fascinating. So, we were basically going to... And this was in what state? Florida. They're saying this. And Operation Northwoods, so it was official, and why didn't it go through?
I think, if I remember correctly, I'm not completely educated on this topic, but I believe Kennedy struck it down.
Yeah, that's what I saw too. I saw that JFK turned it down. He's the only pretty much reason I saw. I don't know if the Supreme Court would have been able to, if he turned it, if he was okay with it, would the Supreme Court have been able to do anything or no?
I don't know. No.
Fascinating. So, Those that are worried about 9/11, do your reports, learn your history. As we said before, the Ancient One, longtime military activist, a bit of a believer in social Darwinism, rumor has it, and even has considered taking upon the religion of Buddha, where he said that he was able to control not just his mind, but his body, as he was able to stop self-gratification for, I believe he said, 3 years, which is very impressive at the 14 to 17-year-old age as a man. I mean, that's usually when you're in your prime. But for him, absolute purity.
That's right, Rhett. Coming to Buddha made me stop wanting to jerk it. And that's really important for young men.
It is.
It really is.
It can ruin your life.
It really can.
It really can.
So, convert to Buddha, you won't jerk it no more.
Yes. Or Christianity, a good one as well. Highly recommend that one over Buddha. But if you were born Buddha, I understand.
Just not Islam.
Yeah. It's recommended.
Just not Islam.
Well, to be quite frank, here on the Primal Chronicles, we don't care what religion you are.
Yeah, we do.
Well, just don't kill us. Just don't kill me. It's the real thing.
Talking to you, Muslims.
Uh,
Talking to you.
Yep.
Right there in the back, Muhammad.